I'm calling the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Select board will meet on the following dates. Actually, we've got minutes to approve. Okay, well, I'm jumping ahead here. So we've got two sets of minutes to approve. The first is the April 26th work session meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those? And if so, is there a motion?
I move to accept the April 26th work session minutes as written.
All right, Zach moves. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Ted seconds. Neil, your vote. Where are you, Neil?
Discussion.
Is that?
Discussion.
Oh, any discussion? Seeing none. Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. All right, second set of minutes we have are the April 26th regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, Ted moves. Is there a second? Okay, Neil seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Motion passes. The select board will meet on the following regular dates. We'll have a meeting on 6 p.m. on Monday, May 24th at, 6 p.m. and June 14th and also June 28th. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. And all the above meetings will be held via Zoom still. You can find dial information on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before noon, the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Reopening of town offices. The town of Plymouth continues to follow the governor's orders and CDC updates and recommendations very closely regarding COVID-19. As of April 18th, state of emergency order extends executive order until May 7th. So there's a new extension.
It's the same. It hasn't changed yet.
I thought we, okay. All right, so due to the concerns of the coronavirus and by agreement of the town's emergency management director, town offices will remain closed to the public through Friday, May 21st, 2021. Please note as we respond to this unprecedented and rapidly changing situation, the above plans may change at any time in the future. We expect to receive regular updates and we'll make every attempt to keep you informed. Please continue to check our website and Facebook page for up-to-date planning information. And if you need something, please don't hesitate to call the Select Board's office at 536-1731 from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The town clerk's office at 536-1732 from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the tax collector's office at 536-4733 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And please note that the town's mask ordinance still remains in full effect until further notice. Next up, we have an appointment. Lisa,
Bill, we did receive, I was just checking my email real quick. We did receive a note from
Scott?
that
Yep.
the
new executive order.
Today.
Yes,
Today.
the new executive order was issued on Saturday, May 8th.
Right.
Order 2021-08, extending the state of emergency, which was originated in Executive Order 2020-04. That's extended now until May 28th.
Thank you, Scott, because that's what I've been telling people. So,
Yes.
You know, it was difficult finding that though, because the order itself was taken down. And then I found another link to the order on a different site, or at least, so that was kind of perplexing, I guess, but
I agree. It wasn't posted on the emergency order site. And then finally DHHS posted it today with the PDF attached again.
okay. Yeah, because I did succeed in finding it on Saturday, but it took some looking for it. All right, so that's a very important correction. So,
Which means we'll be closed 2 weeks past May 28th.
yeah, so the town offices will be closed until whatever, June 13th, 15th? Thereabouts. June 15th. And as stated, the mask ordinance still remains in full effect and will be in full effect until perhaps 2 weeks after that. We may actually parrot the June 15th.
Yeah.
We as of the executive order being lifted May 28th, and should it not be extended, which it probably may not be extended, then probably we will target 30 days after that and then lift the ordinance, but it's all kind of presumptive right now.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks, Zach, for bringing that one up. Regarding appointments, Lisa Donor sent an email in saying, "Dear Kathy, my PERLAC membership is up for renewal, and so I am reapplying. Please bring this application up before the select board next meeting, if there is room on the agenda. Let me know if this will go directly to DES afterwards, or if I need to then separately send to DES. Thank you, Lisa." So she filled out the application, and obviously this will be going into the signature file. And she wants to attend next Tuesday's meeting, so sooner the better that you sign it. But so is there a motion regarding Lisa?
I move that we reappoint Lisa Donor to the Hemi River Local Advisory Committee for another term.
All right, thanks, Neil. All right, Neil moves, Zach seconds. Any discussion?
I feel that Lisa Donor is eminently qualified and seriously committed.
And besides that, she just got elected to be the secretary of PERLAC. So, so it's a good thing that we're doing this. So moved and seconded, and we've had discussion. Ted, your vote?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Mary Ann? Sorry.
Aye.
And Bill, aye. All right. I'll sign one at least. Patience. Should I stick this in the signature file? All right. Next up, we have emergency management update by Scott Wheaton, our director.
Thank you, Bill. Other than discussing the executive order, which we just did, the universal guidance was now changed to universal best practices. And I did forward along the link for that. So I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but I can go more in depth on that. But it still is talking about the guidance, but more from a best practice. And it doesn't preclude any business organization or individual business operators from taking additional precautions for the health and safety of its employees and consumers. So it really follows the same guidance, but just is listed now as best practice. Other updates is we continue to work on the hazard mitigation plan. We have a meeting coming up next on the 19th, next Thursday or Wednesday, I believe it is. And we'll be going through 4 different areas during that meeting. We'll be talking about our problem statement, which really looks at areas of concerns, dams, droughts, flooding, and updating those areas. We'll be reviewing our feasibility study based on the 7 criteria of social, technical, administrative, political, legal, and economic and environmental issues that come forth in the hazard mitigation plan. We'll also be reviewing the FEMA 1 mitigation ideas in review to make sure that we are staying on top of the hazards that we've identified, as well as using their guidance to look at other areas that maybe we haven't identified in the past. Basically for new mitigation projects and things of that nature. Our hope is that this will be our 4th meeting that we've had. We'll have one additional meeting in the month of June, which should take us to the final plan for review. So just an update on that. We have posted the public notice. There is a Zoom link for anybody interested in attending one of those meetings, but that's where we are today and moving forward next week.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Any questions of our EMD? All right, seeing none. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Town manager update? Do you have anything to?
Not today.
All right. Well, then let's bring up, is Joe on?
Joe, yes.
Yeah, okay. Joe Fag, excuse me, Joe Fagnan. Belmore PO for cleaning out the catch basins. Oh, you're on silent there.
Okay, so as of July 1, I'll be in my new budget. And so Belmore, he went up $5 a basin. And I looked around and he hasn't gone up in like 4 years. And his prices are competitive, if not better than some of the others. And I've used them for a long time. So I'm scheduled to do up to 250 basins. If they need it, we'll do them all. If they don't, then I won't use it all. But that's what I have. So $11,250 for that line item.
All right. Hey, Joe, are we able to do like 2 cleanings a year, or is it pretty much just once a year after your budget comes?
No, once a year. So by the time July gets here, all the winter sand and the rainstorms have washed everything in, and it doesn't make sense to do 2 cleanings because they won't get full enough to do them again until next year if I do them in July and August. So, and there'll be enough left over. So if I have to jet rod a pipe or clean a couple of the sumps in the back country, then that's available to me too. So.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
Do you measure the amount of sediment and debris in the catch basins?
Yeah, so we have possibly up to 400 basins, and we go around and we have a ready rod and we poke every hole, and then we go around and mark the ones that are full. And if there are some that are just like less than a quarter full, we'll leave them. You know, as long as the basins are pretty low, there's no point in pumping them out. But if they're so we do monitor that and don't just cut them loose with a check for every basin. So we do go around and mark the ones that we want taken care of.
Is it mostly sand?
Yep. Mostly winter sand and or rain events, or sometimes even the water department helps us there when they flush their hydrants. So so it's mostly sand.
Where does it go?
I mean, after we pump it out.
Where does Belmore dump it?
We used to do it at our pit, but we ran out of room, and so I'm not sure where he goes, but he hauls it off, and that might be one of the reasons why his price went up too. So
Is it something that can be reprocessed?
No,
No.
no, it's pretty yucky, actually.
All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I move to accept the purchase order.
Okay, Zach moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Ted seconds. Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Any discussion? Sorry, Ann. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Oh, did he just leave? I was going to ask him when he's going to finish Bartlett Road, but
I'm still here. Actually, I'm putting it together. I haven't put it out to bid. I won't have the money until the new budget, but I'm almost finished the process so I can get it out in the paper so I can get a bid on it.
well, thank you.
Joe,
Okay.
since we're on the topic of other roads, do you know what other roads are planned to get repaved or repaired this year? I know I'm asking you without having prepped for it, but
Well, Boulder Point just went out today to bid, so we're gonna do a shim and an overlay and redo Boulder Point Road. And then
New Hebron?
we were slated to do some work on New Hebron.
Yep.
And so that was gonna consist of the same process as I'm doing on
Bartlett.
Bartlett Road.
Yep.
And I had put that out to bid first. And then when the people accepted Bartlett Road, I've kind of decided that it'd be better if I just do, instead of 1,000 feet on each road, is to do 2,000 feet on Bartlett Road. And then I will appropriate the money and go back and try to do something on New Hebron next year. I think I'd be better off served with the money to go the distance and make a difference on one road. And other than that, that's all my money.
I have a question about New Hebron Road. Is
Yep.
the worst section up on top of that knob where Dennis Downing lives?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, you come to the top of the hill and it's before you get to Adams Road. The drainage is really bad there. So part of that project consists of putting in drainage as long as boxing it out and starting over.
Blasting?
No, I say no, but as of right now, no.
do we have money in the budget to do sort of small repair pothole kind of things in addition to a full road repair?
I'd like to say yes, but no. I have money for coal patch, but that's it. All my money actually got tied up into grants. So anything that I have planned for extra on top of that is gone away because I haven't had any money to appropriate for grants, and so I'm not in a very good spot this season.
Yeah, makes sense. I keep hearing a lot of complaints about Emerson in particular.
Yep.
What type of coal patch are you using?
Well, we're using the high performance, but doesn't matter what you use when we've had a lot of rain. Now we get into some weather where the rain goes away, it'll hold a lot better.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
New business. Chief LaFave and the parking committee provide an update.
Yeah, so we've been meeting on a regular basis for the parking committee, and things that the parking committee wanted to bring forward to the Board of Selectmen was basically changing the meter rates. Where right now we pay 25 cents an hour, and that's kind of unheard of anywhere. So we're looking at raising those to $1 an hour. However, parts of the committee had some concern, and I wanted hopefully get some business owners on this meeting so we could discuss. Right now we have 30-minute free parking. There are approximately 39 spots in the free parking zone. And then there are additional 9 spots in the 15-minute free parking zone. That includes in front of like Samaha's and the post office. So, my suggestion was that if you go anywhere else, you have to pay for parking. That's just, how you do it. And I haven't seen any free parking anywhere else. However, my goal in doing this was to get the input of the business owners downtown, because I also don't want to drive them out of business. So that's why I was hoping to get some input from some other people. The other thing I can tell the board that I did some rough math, and this is very difficult to do because it depends on how much we would be charging for that 30-minute parking if we decided to start charging for it. But with the 39 spots and then the other 9 in the 15, the town is losing out on the potential of about $60,000 a year or more in revenue for those spots. And I know, Mary Ann, you had a bunch of questions. Did you want to just go over those, or how did you want to handle that part?
Yeah, I was just trying to get in front of what I thought were questions that the board may have, more figures and, pretty much what you've listed here, how much we bring in, potential for it, things like that.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is I couldn't give you, at least the paperwork that I gave the board, I couldn't give you an accurate amount of what the potential revenues would be, because it all depends on what we're going to go up on the meter prices for.
Right.
So, I could guess and everything else like that, but, again, it's nothing more than a guess, because it depends on what we would be charging for certain things.
Did you determine the shape of the demand curve for parking, Steve?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Steve. One more time.
Did you determine the shape of the demand curve for parking on Main Street? I'm sorry, that's a crazy question. Well, I mean, there is a, if you go up too high, you actually lose revenue because.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So there is a point at which, and I'm sorry, I just pulled in here, but there's a point at which not only is it bad for revenue, but it's also bad for the image of Main Street and Main Street's the cooperation between businesses and the town, which is good, but the signals are conveyed by such things as meter constrictions or constraints or fees or any of that kind of stuff. So it's a tricky balance. I think your guess is as good as anything, to be honest, because it'll be wrong, but it'll be as good as we can do, right? Yeah.
So Steve, are you concerned about the meter raising or the 30-minute free, or both?
No, I'm not concerned about the meter raising. I mean, that's in the board knows that we did some due diligence and we looked at Concord, Dover, Durham, Littleton, Manchester, Nashua, Portsmouth, the state parks, Newington, Mass, Portland, Maine, Brattleboro, Vermont, and Montpelier, Vermont. And we are, there are a couple that are less money than what I would be proposing. But, you're talking about the Manchesters and Nashuas and whatnot that have the high volume of parking that we just don't have. But we are average by doing it $1 an hour at our meters would be equivalent to what everybody else is doing. But more importantly, I'm not too worried about that raise as far as that goes. I'm more concerned. What I really wanted to discuss was the free parking in Plymouth. That's what I really wanted to discuss, because I don't own a business downtown and I don't want to have an adverse effect on doing something in Plymouth that's going to prevent people from having patrons come into their business.
So I was just thinking, it's not probably comparable, but if you go down to Bristol, I'm thinking I've had like, a couple of meetings or something like that in the Purple Pit, and that whole little area right there, I think it's like free parking. Or if it isn't, I haven't been feeding any meters, but
Tickets in the mail, Bill.
That's right.
This is Bristol, Steve. You don't have
I'm
jurisdiction.
just kidding. I'm joking.
So
The other thing too, Bill, is Frank Miller in the audience tonight?
no, he's not. I don't
He's
know
not,
why.
and that's a shame. Having a discussion with him, and he told me that the 30-minute parking downtown was supposed to be a temporary thing. Now, that was before me, so I don't know, and I have no recollection of it. I was hoping he would be there tonight to talk to that.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, I can't speak to that, but that was the information he gave me at the last meeting.
And is the dollar a meter? That's the recommendation for all the meters.
Well, I can go down the recommendations and I can skip the free parking part, but meter change would be the downtown area would be $1 per hour with a 2-hour max. The other 30-minute parking that we do have downtown, but it's in front of the D&M building, I would look at switching that to also 2-hour parking, $1 per hour with a 2-hour max. The kiosk machine is, again, that would have to go up to $1 per hour. The Langdon Street, High Street, Merrill Street, Upper Highland Street, that area, we were looking at $1 per hour for the first 2 hours, because that's long-term parking. Those are 10-hour meters up there, and then 2 hours every hour after 2 hours. And then the riverfront parking, which is down on Green Street, we were looking at $1 per hour. And then the town, we do sell parking permits down in the Green Street area. And right now the parking permits are $35 a month, and we would be looking at increasing it to $50 a month.
I have a question. What would the minimum amount of time cost on a meter?
We would have to do, it depends on what we decide. You know, whether it's 30-minute parking, an hour parking, you would have to pay for the hour.
Well,
The
so
minimum's $1.
Correct.
if you're only thinking of going in for 10 minutes, you know, that
Or
might be a deterrent.
Takeout. That's the one that I always worry about.
Well, that's why when you're thinking about those spots, that's why we're discussing the 30-minute parking that are on the storefront side. That's where the question herein lies. That's what I want to discuss, is that very specific area, because right now it's 30-minute free parking. And do we want to keep it that way? Do we not want to keep it that way? And again, that's why I was leaning more towards, you know, some of the business owners to come in and, you know, give us their input on how they feel about it.
Well, I'm happy to give you my input.
I know you are.
Well, I'm the guy who came up with the 30-minute free parking in the first, maybe I'm one of the guys that came up with it in the first place. I think it still works. I think actually one of the things that is, if we go up to $1 elsewhere, then that makes that free parking that much more valuable. And we would want to be sure to, and frankly, I think we should go up on the fine for exceeding the 30 minutes, because frankly, you can't actually fine tune it well enough to actually jab somebody if they've been there for 31 minutes. You know,
we have gone up on the fines. That was the first step we took with the select board. We've already done that. That's already happened. And the second step was looking at increasing the meter prices.
What's the 30-minute number now?
Oh God, you had to ask that. I would have to look it up, and I don't have that information right here with me.
Well, but it's not posted anywhere, I don't think, on the parking. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it could and should be posted. I think
It wasn't. I believe it is, and I'll figure out where it is for you.
Well, I think we've always kind of had it a little backwards, because we had the 30-minute parking for free, but the fine was lower than the fine for the meter parking. Which I think that's the way it was. I'm pretty sure that's the way it was.
Okay, so the 30-minute parking, the fine is $30.
Oh, okay. Well, that's significant.
Unless you want to go up to $50.
No, I don't think we need to go. I don't think we need to go up higher than that. But I do think that, you know, that it needs to be to work for businesses. It needs to be turnover, and and we want to get turnover there. So like, and Because we don't want people sitting there thinking they're getting something for free for an hour when it's only for 30 minutes.
I totally agree with you, 100%.
So they may need to learn that it's not for more than 30, not more than 30 minutes when they get that $30 fine. They'll say, oh, I'm going to Walmart, blah, blah, blah. But
There's
I
a
mean,
hand raised as well, just.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm getting, Ann was telling me.
Can I just ask a question of Steve LaFave? How did they come up with 39? I mean, why can't we reduce that to 20 and add meters to 19? I mean, what's the sense of having 39 spots? Is there?
Because those are the spots that are directly in front of the storefronts. Now, if you start taking that away, somebody's going to be like, how come Steve Rand can have free parking in front of his store
Right.
and Jamie can't have free parking in front of her store?
Because he got there first. No.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we're either, my opinion is we're either going to keep it free 30 minute the way it is now, or we're going to change it all the way across the board. That's the only fair way to do it in my mind. And Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, because we've discussed this before, but please chime in if you got something you want to add.
Yeah. So I kind of agree with, or I do agree with Steve Rand in the sense that I think it's working. You know, I think that there's a lot of businesses on Main Street. You think of Rand's, Maha's, you know, M&M Scoops, Chase Street and Cafe Monte Alto, that it's a quick in and out, you know, and I think there might be a little bit of pushback from the change from the 25 cents to $1 per hour. So I think let's just move with the rate increase for now and leave those 39 spaces free for the 30 minutes and then see how that goes. But I think, you know, you do want to encourage turnover. You do want to encourage people to like still come to Main Street. And I think having those free spaces are really important.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I live out on the open range in West Plymouth.
Oh, man.
And we don't have to pay any taxes out here, like parking. And you guys are up against it. And you've got to have turnover, and you've got to have something to offer people to come in there for short visits. If they want to hang around for an hour, they really should pay.
Right.
Because they're tying up your spots.
Right. So that had that opportunity on the metered spots. But I mean, that's where they have an opportunity to stay for 2 hours.
Correct.
That's the whole principle that of the system, but we have to be able to, the public has to understand it for it to work well. And I don't know how good a job we're doing. I'm wondering if are we considering going to electronic meters?
Yes, we've considered not electronic meters just because the prices of them are absolutely outrageous, but what we're going to go to is virtual meters.
Virtual meters.
You're correct. So you pay, you know, with your smartphone, or if you don't have a smartphone, there's a phone number you could actually call. That's what we're leaning towards doing. That's where a lot of other towns and cities are doing right now as well. And it's the cost is significantly less because in the bond, I actually asked for, I don't know, like $168,000 to change out all the meters to electric meters, but just to have a meter exist, just to communicate back and forth for like credit card transactions and whatnot, each meter is about $5 a month at 200 meters.
Well,
so it just, to me, that the math doesn't add up. It's not worth it. It's not worth paying $5 just to have a meter exist. So we started exploring some of these other, you know, like Park Mobile apps and other apps that are out there.
but does that cut out a whole segment of the population who is not internet savvy and aware and understand how that whole thing works and can get online and generate their own login and all that kind of stuff? I mean, things that.
Well, I don't know. Go ahead, Jamie. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say the great thing is that we had discussed leaving the meters that take the coins. So you'd have the two options. So if you have because I know for my age group, I rarely have change. So it would be great to have both the opportunity to pay via the app, or if you have the change, you know, lying around, you could use that as well. But one other benefit, and sorry if I'm cutting you off, Chief.
No, go ahead,
is
please.
that they come with the service comes with free signage.
Mhm.
So that could, give instructions, tell you how to download, and we could also see, I'm not sure if I might be speaking out of turn here, but we could also see if we could, put a little note up about the fines for the, the 30 minutes or the meter parking as well. Just like kind of your concern, Steve, is about, letting people know
Right.
how this whole thing works. So that can kind of be two birds there.
Right, yeah, for it to work. Yeah, so you're gonna get quite a lot more revenue, presumably from these higher fines. It seems like, so did you do a pro forma of what you think the revenue versus the cost would be of these electronics, and how, can we pay for it in the next 10 years or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we definitely make money off of it. Because we hadn't decided at that point in time what the dollar, what we were going to charge per meter. And then we were still discussing whether we were going to do the 30-minute free. So there were too many unanswered questions to actually make a determination as to, what the actual projected revenues would be.
Right. So it's kind of it's a business decision, sort of. I mean, it's also like, I think people are very used to paying for everything with their credit card. So that's a universal understanding.
Do you know
Doing
how
it
much the
online.
university pays?
What's that?
How much the university charges for fines?
$100 or something for.
Was it 75?
Depends on where you are and what the parking violation is, but it's pretty hefty.
Right. So, you have so you have to, for somebody who's happy to, pay fines, it's going to be cheaper for them to pay fines on this.
Well, that's why we went up on our fine schedule as
Right.
well. That's why we took care of that. We are
For you.
not exactly as high as the university, but we are close to some of the university fines. So it would discourage, the university students from long-term parking in the downtown area.
Right. Yep.
So we probably feel that the 60,000 in lost revenue for the free meters is probably offset by the amount of business that's being done for the downtown businesses. And I'm thinking too, if we want to park our meter person at Monte Alto in the morning, I'm sure we can get a lot more fines. I'm only kidding. Wink, wink. Steve.
Is that when you're there, Bill?
That's the 30-minute. That's the 30-minute cup of coffee now.
Yeah. Yeah, no chatting with people, and
Right. Yeah, I know. Damn,
that might be kind of rough.
When were you thinking about implementing this?
Well, we had talked, the committee, we'd all talked, I'm thinking about, we're still discussing, there's still some work that would need to be done. We would still have to talk to the Park Mobile company for the virtual meters. I'm guessing sometime in August, we'll pick a date. That way you guys could make an announcement at a select board meeting that it's the changeover, and it gives people several months to absorb the fact that the prices are going to go up. But I'm thinking, sometime by the end of this summer.
I think that we should get some kind of signage out there letting people know that this is coming way sooner. It's something that we haven't done a great job in the past. There's no communication on like a sandwich board or whatever on the common. Something like that says, hey, by the way, as of whatever date, parking rates are going to go up. See Steve.
Here's his phone number.
Whatever, it's what I do.
I think that's a great idea, Ted. I think some sandwich boards around in that area would be really helpful.
And if we only have one, because I think I heard before we only have one sandwich board, I'm sure we can get someone to make us some for cheap, or buy them for.
Or take it out of the highway budget. They'll be happy to buy sandwich board signs.
Well, that way we have a resource that we can use in the future to communicate as well.
Well, the other thing too is I think, and we could just put up some kind of a flyer and see if some of the businesses would let us put it on their front door for a little while. That way you're walking into a store and you're going to see, okay, well, these prices are going to go up. Whether people actually read them or not, I don't know, but at least you're getting the message out there.
You have a Main Street business who does sandwich boards. She has a sandwich board sign advertising that she does sandwich boards. True. It's what is it? The Minuteman Press. Just a suggestion.
Steve, will we be adding any new meters?
Right now, no. My goal is to not add new meters because, like I said, the meters are relatively expensive. We may have to replace some meters that are aging, but nowhere near the cost of what I have reserved in the bond to do that. Like I said, I think I have $168,000 reserved for new meters, and we wouldn't even come close to spending that. But we should update some of our meters, and like the housings don't need to be updated. It's if a parking meter, it's the insides, the inners with the electronics in it. That's what would need to be updated. Some of those.
All right. So we're not making hard, fast decisions right this meeting, but I guess we got to address it pretty soon.
Correct.
So,
Yep. And we can have more discussion. Like I said, I was really hoping, it's nice that we have some, Main Street business owners here to get their input. I think it's very important. Like I said, I don't have a business down there, and I'm not trying to do something to harm anybody's business by any means. So that's why, like I said, I wanted to have their input into it as well.
Mary Ann, did you make a comment, or you're avoiding a conflict of interest, or what?
No, I don't avoid that. No, actually, I'm on the parking committee. So from a business perspective, I appreciate the staying with the 30 minutes because we do have a lot of in and out. And I'm more than okay with the $1, especially given all the research Steve and his team's done that comparable to other towns.
Great.
The only other bill, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yep.
The only other area we really haven't discussed, even in the committee, would be like the South Main Street part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's free parking all the way down there,
right.
Where is, in front of like Peppercorns and the Flying Monkey and stuff like that. There are meters there, but further down, I don't know what happened, if we just ran out of money back then, but there haven't been metered spots down there in forever.
That's why I asked the question, Steve. I couldn't remember if we had talked about additional meters or not.
Yeah, so I mean, we could just put up signage with the virtual meters down there and do that as well.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That sounds pretty good. But
Steve, can you send out information about the virtual meters and the electronic ones, and so we can see like what would be, and do pro formas on the two of them to see how that would look in terms of revenue to the town. Because I'm pretty convinced that, and sitting here in my dumbness, that people would be very accepting of paying $1 if they just use their credit card. But if they have to go through another rigmarole, I'm not so sure about that. I've done what you're talking about in Boston, and it got to be really confusing because I had to set up a login. I had to create. Maybe it's simpler than that, but
it is much simpler than that. I'd be happy to get you some information on that, but yeah. I can send you information on the meters, but I'm telling you, it's even at $1 an hour. We don't do the volume. It's not going to be cost effective for the town. For between the credit card fees that we pay an exorbitant amount to, and Zach knows this because he looked into part of this for us already, and the actual just the $5 a month. So you're looking at what, $5 a month at 200 meters is like $600 a month. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at like $12,000 a year just for parking meters to exist, which is just astronomical in my mind. And then you're paying, I don't have the percentages in front of me, but the credit card transactions are huge because then people are doing it at, $1, here and there, and not, spending like $5 or more, like most other businesses have a minimum amount that you would have to spend to you do a credit card transaction.
Steve, do we know what the transaction fee is on the app-based?
Yes, we do. You give me a second, I'll dig that out and look for it.
So like, yeah, so
So there would be two fees involved. There'd be a 35-cent fee. And then the transaction fee, I want to say are 3%.
3% would
Yeah.
be fair.
now the transaction fee would be 35 cents. And the certain
The
percent.
credit card fee would be
The
3%.
credit card fee would be 35 cents, yeah.
What was the 35 cents? 35 cents?
That is it's a fee for using, it's a transaction fee. That's what they call it, for using the virtual meter.
So you pay $1 and first of all, you send 35 cents of that to the credit card fee people. And then another 3% of the dollar, which is another 3 cents, so 38 cents per transaction out of the dollar goes to the guys who provide did they provide the machine at that price? Like,
Well, there is no
machine,
right? It's
but-
all virtual.
It's all virtual. Yeah, correct.
that's the virtual system. That's not the
Correct.
credit
The
card.
virtual system.
So Steve, they're
Correct.
not paying $1.38 at that point. They're only gonna pay the town, aren't they gonna give the town the full dollar?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The
So it's
35
actually,
cents
so
is
to
a
park, it's
transaction
actually,
fee. I'm sorry, go ahead, Zach.
so does that mean to park, it's actually $1.35?
Correct. Yes.
Oh,
So it's $1.35 because there's a 35-cent transaction fee, whether you park there 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever, it's just the
Right.
flat 35 cents. And that's passed on to the consumer, and then we pay the 3%, meaning the town pays the 3% for the
Oh.
credit card transaction rate.
that's gonna be a real hard one on the customer.
Yeah.
Well, the
Really?
meters are still gonna be there, and they would have the option to use the meters
Oh,
at $1 an hour.
not
What does
south
the
end of
breakdown
town.
look like if you go with the full credit card accepting meter?
Right.
If you go $5
Again,
fee a month?
I'd have to look through the numbers again. We kind of wrote off those meters because they were so expensive
Hmm.
between
key-
the
or a
fee and then
kiosk.
the credit card and transaction. They have a different, I don't know if it was World Pay or who was it they used, but their percentage was much higher.
World
close
Pay's
to
percentage was like
5%.
20%.
How much?
Their effective rate ended up as high as like 20%.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're looking at making, a fraction of $1 on every transaction if you go that way. But like I said, it's the 35 cents is a convenience fee to do it with your phone, because you could just park there, walk away, hit your phone. Once it's set up for you, you only have to hit, one button and it pays for it for you. Or you can just tap your phone to the sign and it sets everything up for you. So the 35 cents is a convenience fee to do it that way. But then again, like Jamie said, we are keeping all the old meters. So if people still want to use that or uncomfortable using that, uncomfortable using the app, then they can still use the regular meter and still pay the straight up $1 an hour. And, my philosophy behind that was because I think after a while, what you're going to find out is there's not going to be much meter use and people are just going to use their cell phones because they'd rather pay the 35-cent convenience fee just to do that than to use the meters. But the option's still there. That's why we would leave the meters there.
So people have to carry a lot of quarters around,
Mhm.
Still do now.
Mhm.
right? Yeah, but only 1 quarter gets you into the spot, right? Right now.
Right now, yep.
Are you dealing with salespeople on this, Steve? I mean, people are, trying to sell us their systems and that sort of stuff. And could we?
Yes, they do different systems. They have different, what do you call it? Like they present you with different PowerPoints and everything else like that. So we've gone through several that we've looked at, and for the virtual meters, we've done that. We've gone through several of them and kind of settled on this Park Mobile company. They seem to be, they have several in the state already. And then for the parking meters themselves, we've yet done our company. There's another company in Canada. And there was a third company that escapes me. I can't remember where that was.
Our company,
Pardon me?
our company?
Our company, the company that we currently use now for our meters.
Oh, that's not the name of the company. That's.
No.
Okay.
Their name's escaping me right this second. So-
Okay, all right, so, all right. Well, these guys have websites, right? So if some of us want to look at how that all ranges out, then we can do it, I guess.
You should probably make sure that Park Mobile is still solvent after a major data breach they had.
Yeah, I think they've got that all sorted out. I mean, I can double check on that, but they're pretty popular. And like I said, some of the, bigger cities here in New Hampshire actually use them. And I think they've got, the fact of the matter is, you don't see it on the news all the time, but companies are having data breaches every single day, multiple times a day.
Yeah. What does Concord use, Steve?
Concord, I think actually they do have some meters, but I think if I remember right, I thought they did use Park Mobile as well.
They have a credit card system.
They have a lot of kiosks with.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think they also went to a third system being this Park Mobile one as well.
Huh.
And I think that's probably what you're going to find, because the hardware for all this stuff is extremely expensive. I think everybody's going to eventually go to virtual.
Sounds good.
And then the virtual is also it aids in the enforcement piece as well, because you can look in and see, you can log into the website and see who's paid and who hasn't paid.
Is that an option that you might not have paid? You can run up a bill?
I don't understand your question. What is it
Well,
now?
I mean, you can see who's paid and hasn't paid, so you can set up an account with these guys and run up a bill and not
That's
pay
for
them.
fines, Steve.
No, for fines, for
For fines, not for meter. Not for
correct.
Right.
For our parking enforcement officer to go out there and keep track of who's paid and who has not paid.
Right. Yeah.
It's for that purposes. And, it's also very convenient because what happens is, say you went in there an hour, but you're parking at the 2-hour meter. This mobile app is going to send you a message saying, hey, your meter's about to expire. Do you want to put another hour in there? And from your phone, you hit yes, and bam, you just paid for another hour.
Okay.
And you don't even have to run back out to your car.
Convenient.
Okay, I just want to say, I'm sorry, I'm so ill-informed about what you've been doing.
No, that's okay.
I should have been sitting in the chair, I think, because this is a little complex, and it's also like a very important thing for our businesses. I think
I don't know what to vote on.
for mine, so I think we all feel the same way. So it'd be nice to get it right. It'd also be nice to stay flexible because a system that would be impossible to
I guess
change
we could probably
would
attempt
be
that.
not a good thing. So I assume that all the what do you call it? The online systems or the how do you categorize the system you're considering?
Virtual meters.
Virtual meters, yeah. I mean, you can change the rate on the fly, right? You can just and
No, you can't really change it on the fly. That actually takes some data entry by the company. Would have to go in to do that. It's not like you could just do that from a computer at the PD or something like that. It actually takes.
But you are talking about less of an infrastructure investment than putting physical wired meters in, running power to all of them, or whatever. There's no physical infrastructure.
Correct.
Right. So each meter location will be known to the electronic system, right? So you'll have space number 14 is part of the data that's in the system.
Sort of. The spaces aren't really numbered. They go by zones.
Oh,
So, the downtown area with the, with the 2-hour maximum parking, that would be one zone. And then, up like on the Langdon Street, High Street, Merrill Street, that area, that's long-term parking. That's up to 10 hours. So that would be a different zone. And so what you do is the computer knows how many parking spaces are in that zone. That's the other convenient thing. So you log onto your app before you even get to the town, or you could have the passenger in your car log onto the app because you're driving and shouldn't be on your cell phone. So you could have somebody check to see if there are any parking spaces available in certain zones. And the other thing too is talk about, meter prices and whatnot. This company does help with that. What they do is for social media, they do geofencing. So when you roll into Plymouth, it'll tell you you are now in a park mobile zone and it costs this amount of money to park. And so it kind of helps out in that aspect as well.
have you considered integrating the private parking into this system?
What private parking are you referring
Mine,
to? What's that?
mine.
Well, don't you own that parking back there?
Yeah, it's private. It's private, right? So, I mean, but it's part of what we have available for businesses. My parking isn't just available for me. It's available for everybody, basically.
Yeah. No, well, I would not do, that definitely would. The parking spots we have now are the parking spots we have now, and that's what we're looking at. I'm not looking to go into any
Right,
parking
yeah.
lots or anything else like that. That would just be unfair.
Right.
That being said, Steve, you could sign up for Park Mobile and use
Yeah.
the same system.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have your own zone. It had nothing to do with the town, but we need
Correct.
the same app.
Check out their website.
So right. So I got the. Oh yeah. Well, this is discovery phase for me. I don't know about everybody else, but it's for me, it's total discovery.
Well, unless we have do you have a further question? Because I got a prompt from Ann that maybe we can get something out of here, this meeting, to go ahead with, if the board agrees with it, is to indicate a raise of the meter price to $1 per meter and leave the business meters free. Does that sound reasonable?
You're talking about the 30-minute parking and the 15-minute parking.
What 15-minute parking?
15-minute parking, we have 3 spots in front of Samahas, and you have another 6 spots in front of the post office.
Huh,
Are
okay.
those included in the 39 spots, Steve?
Oh,
Oh, in front of the post.
No,
No.
the 39 spots are specifically for 30-minute parking only. And there are 9 additional spots, like I said, the 6 and the 3 down by Samahas and the 6 in front of the post office are free 15-minute parking. Because, like at Samaha's business, people go in there for a couple of minutes, pick up whatever they need and come out.
Right.
So I think it's even a shorter turnaround than you would be looking at, like Steve's store. I mean, obviously you're going to go in there if you're buying some paint or some hardware or something. It takes you a little bit longer to go do that than it would be, to go get, something out of a convenience store like Samaha's.
or Thai Smile, but
Or
so-
Thai Smile, yep.
in any event, do you think we might be able to go ahead with an agreement on, at least a motion to go forward with $1 per meter and keep those free meters for 30 minutes and 15 minutes for free?
I'd like to make a motion that we raise the parking price to $1 an hour and we keep free parking free.
Okay, Zach moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Oh, Mary Ann got it.
All right, Mary Ann got it. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
Can I just ask for, Steve, you're not ready to do this right now?
Oh,
You're
no, I
far-
mean, it's going to take some time for me to implement all this anyway. So you guys voting on it now is not going to matter what we're going to actually do. You can raise the prices now. I don't have the tools to do the meters, to upgrade the meters and everything else. So this is going to take some time anyway. This is not going to happen, tomorrow. Absolutely not. We're
Right.
probably, before we can do that, like I said, we're probably looking at the end of the summer anyway.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that fact that you already mentioned August or the end of August, so.
Yeah, I think, and plus it's only fair that we give people some time and notify them as to what's going on.
Yep. All right, we got 2 hands raised. I'll take the board member, Steve. I'm sorry, but Ted.
Good, that's fine. Do it.
My question is, has the parking committee, how many of the downtown businesses have you actually worked with?
Mary Ann, Jamie, and Carol Dunn. Those are typically the only ones that show up. You know, Frank Miller showed up, but those are the only ones. We've invited several other people, but those are the only ones that typically show up every time.
My concern is if we don't have enough, if they don't understand what's going on, that we're going to have a backlash. And so when you say you invited several, does several mean 3 or does it mean all of them?
Well, let me tell you this, Jamie was in charge of doing that, and she emailed everybody on Main Street,
Yep.
and especially for this meeting,
Okay.
and you only got a handful of people. So that's typically what we're seeing with anything, is we invite as many people as we can, and only a handful show up. And I
Okay,
think
just wanted to be
Mary Ann can
sure.
attest to that.
Absolutely, Steve.
All right, thank you. And Steve, you have a comment?
So I wonder if this is a premature need to actually move on something right now, because for one thing, we're really not talking about $1. We're talking about $1.35, are we not?
Not on the regular meters, we're not. If somebody wants to use the virtual meter, then yeah, that's what we're talking about. But the
Right.
regular meters are not, I can't make them do $1.35 anyway. if I
So
wanted to.
what you're saying, but so I just think it's a little bit, it's like I don't want anything to be hidden, basically. And when we come out with a motion that says we're going to raise the meter price to $1, I think that deserves more explanation, that we're going to also change the system. You're going to have an opportunity to buy that same parking place for $1.30 electronically, or you can feed it with either, both ways are a pretty good size change, going from 25 cents to, I think it's 25 cents right now, to $1 is a big change. And then going to $1.30 for the convenience of those who don't want to carry quarters around and who are able to do that.
Wholeheartedly agree with you, Steve.
Right.
However, you name me the place where you can go park for 25 cents an hour anywhere in the state.
I'm not saying that there is a place. I'm just saying that if we don't want a backlash, a la Ted, then I think we need to be careful about what we are saying. So this article comes out and it says, select board passes motion to raise the meter to $1. Then I think it ought to be well explained that yes, and there will be an opportunity to electronically or somehow pay for this in a different way when it will be more than $1, because I think people don't want to carry change around, basically. That's why all these cities and every places have these opportunities to do it. And the other thing is, of course, that everybody's going to see, oh, well, you're going from 25 cents to $1. You're making a lot of money here now, but you're not. But so where's that money going to go to?
In budget review, we've definitely revealed that we lose money on parking every year. So this is not a situation where we're suddenly going to make a lot of money as a town, but we may actually start to offset the cost of what it takes to enforce and manage the parking in this town.
Of course, yeah, depending upon what you count as costs, so if you start to allocate cost management to a certain portion of the whole police budget, then you've definitely lost the case, right?
Well, it's not the whole police budget. The parking is separated into its own budget.
I know, yeah, I'm sorry.
And
Clarity.
I saw Neil had his finger up, but I'm gonna, for the fact that I don't think we're not being transparent on this, Steve. I think we're being very transparent, and
Okay.
we're,
Cool.
and at least for this motion is to basically look at raising the cost of parking to $1. We're not even addressing the virtual meters at this point. So.
Correct.
You know, so I think,
I just
It was the
wanted to
mo-
ask if you think a public hearing is necessary.
well, is that, does one?
I'm
do
throwing
we-
it out there.
Yep.
I think it might be a good idea.
I honestly think, I mean, it's a good idea, you can do it, but I think you're gonna get the same exact turnout you got now.
Yeah,
And it's
I
gonna
think
be
it's
the
good for
same people.
transparency though. I think it is a good idea to do a public hearing and we have time. We could schedule a
Okay.
public hearing for the next board meeting.
Absolutely.
And
All right.
if
Sounds
we
good.
have 5 people who show up and say, this seems fine.
All right, so,
I'm okay with that. I already have all the information, so.
all right, so, who made the motion? You want to withdraw the motion?
Zach,
Can I
Zach.
withdraw the motion or do we have to vote it down?
All right, you withdrew.
I withdrew it then.
I
From
propose
left.
that we have a public hearing at the next meeting.
Yep, sounds good. Is that a motion, Neil? No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
We'll just do our
Okay.
agreement that we're
Sure.
doing a public hearing. Okay, sounds good. Well then, thank you very much. And thanks, Steve, for
Hanging in
your,
there.
You're welcome. And I'll, Mr. Chair, I'll make sure we have some literature for people available before we have that public hearing, so we can get that out there as well.
yep,
Great.
that would be good.
Mail that to the downtown businesses, what's proposed.
I can, well, I'll have Jamie do that because she's got more than everybody's contact information, but we can do that. We can even post it online on the website too, if people want, either way, or we can just print up a bunch of hard copies. I can leave those down at the town hall. However people want to do it is fine with me.
Actually, Steve, you've got a big, Steve Rand, you've got a big circulation. You want to target maybe the business population as well? It's just, if they're getting it from a couple people, that's probably.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, for instance, I know that we've got about 7 or 8 people whose faces aren't showing here, are even on this particular call. Dick Cage and Joe Fagnant and Joyce Weston and others. You may have more. You have some silent listeners here that are going to help get the word out about this. And yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. I think Jamie has the same list that I have because I gave her mine.
Oh, okay.
So she'll get it out. But my experience is that when you send out an e-blast, only like 20% of the people even look at it,
True.
right? So it really kind of means walking it around town, to be honest. But
Well, just go down to Monte Alto and park your car out there for 35 minutes and
Right.
chat with everybody. So.
exactly, right.
Mr.
Well, we
Chair,
can- Yes.
I think Joyce had her hand up. I saw a hand go up on her screen.
We're
I don't know if she wants to say anything or not, but
Yeah, it's
Joyce?
Mike.
I would say something.
Hi, this is Joyce. I was just thanking all of you for spreading the word. Didn't have anything to say, but I think it should be on the website. It should be publicized. Maybe somebody can put a note in the Record Enterprise. I think it's a good issue, and you will get more people if you spread the word.
Thank you, Joyce.
That's all I wanted to say.
All right, that's great.
I would just add one thing, Bill.
Yes.
So when we first started the parking committee, it was the business owners that requested the increase from 25 cents to $1. And I would somewhat agree with Steve also that going over $1, when we're saying it's only going to be $1 increase, maybe the town could charge $1 and eat the fees, might be an option. And the last thing I want to mention is, besides increasing the fines and increasing the fees for the meters, they were really concerned about the college kids taking up the spaces in front of the businesses and going to their class and being able to virtually increase another hour from their phone while they're in class might not be to the store owner's benefit.
Good point. Points. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Thanks for letting me talk.
Anytime. So yeah, we'll, I mean, we can bring that out at the public hearing as well. Any other comments on that subject? Okay, I think we'll leave parking and go to Jesse Jennings and Kevin Roy.
Evening, Select Board.
He's what?
Evening.
Oh, good evening. Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
Good. So the reason why I'm here tonight and want to talk to you about House Bill 177. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this bill. Basically, what this bill is, it prohibits the siting of new landfills, excluding expansions of existing landfills near state parks. The verbiage of it is no permit shall be issued by the department, which is the state, for the siting of a new landfill other than on property owned by the state, one or more municipalities, or a solid waste management district, if any part of the actual solid waste disposal area is proposed to be located within 2 miles of the boundary of any state park. And this is in reference to the planning to build a new landfill in the town of Dalton, which it abuts by a state forest. I brought on Kevin Roy to better explain the bill and how this is going to affect pretty much the state. Kevin, are you on?
I am. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Jesse did a pretty good job of summing it up. If you do not know, we have been, coming up to the end of life with North Country Environmental Services. We did receive our stage 6 permit, which will provide the public benefit or disposal needs up until 2026. But because of the efforts, the failed efforts in town to get a zoning change to expand NCS, Casella had gone out and put a little bit more effort into Plan B, which would be to site a new facility. And when I say we started that effort a long time ago, it took basically a 5-year study to look throughout the state to see where we could possibly and where there would be a viable piece of land to site a landfill. There's a very long list of siting criteria for a green site. Probably why there hasn't been a green site cited, this side of the Mississippi in 3 decades. So from that process, we picked 4 pieces of property. We got on those pieces of property and started really boiling down all the siting criteria, wetlands, access to roads, all those things that you need to do, power lines. And we ended up in Dalton. And then from that point, we then started doing the geotechnical work, meaning drilling wells, identifying wetlands, doing all the scientific stuff you would need to have to present actual applications for those types of permits. So in reality, we've been in this process for 8 years now. We've been on that site for going on 4 years. We have 2 years of groundwater analysis and elevation data. We have our solid waste permit submitted. We have a wetlands permit submitted. We have a DOT permit submitted. We have a release detection groundwater permit on the shelf, ready to go. We have a Title V EPA permit on the shelf, ready to go. So we're well into this process. And then they bring up this bill, as Jesse mentioned, that pretty much targets this project. A municipality can put a landfill on this piece of property, but we could not. So it's really a land use issue, and we believe this is like spot zoning. So what we're asking is just for help from any municipality to let the state and let the process and the rules and regulations that are in place to do a job. If this site doesn't meet the criteria, if we can't engineer it or meet the specific rules that are on the books, the process, the permits will not be granted and the project won't go forward. To create a buffer, currently the buffer is 400 feet to a residential area. And they want 2 miles to a piece of property that is not even habited, and to a state park, to a state park. If you know, say Forest Lake or Forest Lake is not the state park. The state park has a little beach, a little area, and then it's basically a forest area. As you know, North Country is right up bordering the national forest. The site up in Success, which is called Carberry, they're less than a half a mile from the Appalachian Trail. If you draw a circle around any other facility in the state of New Hampshire, they're in populated areas. Take Lebanon, they're within 2 miles, they're within the entire town. So we believe this bill was targeted. It was in committee in the Senate, committee in the House. It came out of committee to be not brought to vote. It was brought to the floor, and through some maneuvering, it actually passed the House. Today, it was in the Senate hearings. There was about 50 people testifying on both sides, and it could. They won't vote. I don't think they're going to vote on that in the committee till another 10 days or 2 weeks. And depending on what happens in that committee, obviously it goes to the vote on the floor of the Senate. It doesn't mean if it comes out of committee in favor of defeating, it still doesn't mean it won't pass again like it did to the House. And then of course it would go on to the governor. So at this stage, any support or anything we can get, we're finding that the senators are responding very well to hearing from municipalities, businesses, and just people that are in the industry, understanding how hard it is to permit and develop capacity, and understand what taking more capacity offline will do to municipalities, businesses, and to the state as a whole. The cost of disposal will increase. The availability of disposal will be, shipping will now become an exporter, and transportation costs will go up. All those things. There's studies and data for all those things. If you guys need more information, because we had some independent work done on the economic impacts that it would have on the state as a whole. But Jesse could speak to that. What it would mean if he didn't have a place to take it, and there's only 2 landfills remaining that are already at capacity. If you look at the current disposal capacity in the state, we're going to be out, and there'll be a shortfall when we close in the next 6 or 7 years, and in the next 10 years, we're starting to talk about 2 million cubic yards, 2 million tons, of shortfall of capacity. That's it, pretty much in a quick nutshell. I could speak to you if you have any questions specific to what I just said.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roy and Jesse. Any comments from the board?
I have a question. Is the town of Dalton in favor of this bill?
The current select board is not friendly. There was a lot of supporters in town, but currently the current board has chosen not. We have made a generous offer to the town, and they have chosen not to speak with us at this time. So currently we are not having any negotiations, discussions on host community. Their stance was that currently we don't have the permits, it's not a facility, and they will wait until this develops more. But to your point, it is not a friendly board to the project.
Is Joyce still on? Yeah, she is. Joyce, would you care to make any comments?
I am on, and I have to say, with all due respect to Kevin Roy, we got an enormous number of emails in support of HB 177. The problem is that we live in the North Country where the national forests and the state parks are really, that is our lifeblood. And we cannot put we're talking about a buffer zone to those precious places. There's a lot of land left in New Hampshire. Those are not the only places you can put waste. There's got to be some other place you can put it. And I understand your issue. I understand the pressure that you're under, but to put it right next to a national park or a state park seems short-sighted, because those are the places that bring in a lot of income for the Northern Country. That's what we live off of. And I can't tell you how many emails we got from the people. It's not just the select board in Dalton. I think we heard from just about every resident in the area. We heard from everybody. So it was a really dramatic moment at the end of our 3-day session when they pulled that bill out. We just let a lot of bills, 80 some bills, die that day, but pulled out that one bill because it was so important to the state of New Hampshire to not let this happen. It would not be good for the state to destroy our land that way by putting waste disposals right next to our most precious parts of the state. So I'm sorry, Kevin, I just really disagree with you on that. There's got to be some other place you can find.
Thank you, Representative. Any comments from our board? Any further comments? Are you looking for a motion from the board, or?
I'm looking for a motion for the board to raise our concerns as, the town of Plymouth. If a facility is not being built now and not ready by the time these other facilities close, the amount of money that needs to be appropriated just to get rid of waste from the town is going to be very substantial. And I wanted to bring that up to your attention. We have, only a few more years before this happens.
All right, and
I'll offer a
alternatives.
motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the Plymouth Select Board support the passage of House Bill 177.
All right, Neil moved. Is there a second? I'll ask one more time. Is there a second for the motion? Well, there's no second to the motion. Is there another motion? Or just? Just to suggest a motion might be, we neither support or oppose this project.
Doesn't an absence of a motion say that exact thing?
Wise guy.
What they have asked for is for the board to help defeat the New Hampshire House Bill 177.
Okay.
And I guess the question would be of the board, are you willing to?
Well, Zach pretty much kind of.
Well, that's what, but Casilla is asking for that specifically.
Okay, well,
As he knows that.
we had one board member seek to support passage and no second, so no further motion to either oppose or support. So Therefore, Mr. Roy, we will not provide your support for the legislative process.
Understood, and I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Not a problem. Have a good night.
All right. Next, we have Eric Miller regarding Dragonfly Property Management LLC right-of-way discussion on Hitchner.
Good evening.
Hi.
So I have some notes just to sort of step through the situation that has arisen regarding the right-of-way over on Hitchner Road, or right-of-way, as you should say. So just bear with me for a second. To understand how we got to this point of contention, I need to give you some background. And what I did is I submitted a subdivision plan, a site plan, started discussions with the town itself. I met with the town employees on 3 separate occasions in order to ensure that the local regulations and laws were being adhered to. And that resulted in actually making 7 different changes to the plan in the course of about a little over a week, right? After that was done, and having had no further feedback from town employees, I received a phone call that sort of went off the rails pretty quickly. So basically, I received a phone call saying that the planning board was not going to suggest that they accept the application as being complete. And they reference a couple things. They reference the, that I had, as part of my site plan, given a written narrative to address some of the issues, which, as far as I can tell, is not against either the regulation or the RSAs, but they're saying that that was a problem. They then went on to indicate that I had omitted a landscaping plan where there's 4 different self-storage units or companies in Plymouth. None of them have a landscaping plan, and it wasn't brought up by the town employees. The next thing they touched on was the plot had the plot plan did have a drainage and erosion control designed on it, but it did not have an engineer's stamp plan, which they were stating that now I needed that. And then the conversation then took a turn to the point where it was sort of incomprehensible to me. And that is that they're saying, since the town may decide at some time at a future date to switch the right-of-way that's on my property to a road, the setbacks based on my proposal would mean that the planning board is going to reject that plan based on these setbacks, right? So I then went on to sort of explain that this is private property. This is this is owned by Dragonfly Property Management. The right of way is for the benefit of the town to get to the town lot. So as this was happening, they kept insisting that the issue of the setbacks, should the select board sometime in the future decide to make the right of way a road. And I said, well, wait a minute, there's a couple of issues here, one of which is that the right of way does not go through where it is on on the file plan and on the deed, that it goes through my private property. So I had previously had requested to get onto the select board's agenda in order to address that issue, because there's a legal concept called adverse possession, and that as soon as I had a survey that indicated the town was using land that was not part of the right of way, I needed to get a simple agreement, and that is that we moved the right of way to reflect where it was as built. But I ended up in this perpetual loop where I kept saying, this is private property and that, what I'm looking to do is to come to an agreement with the town to adjust it right away so that it would, reflect what's actually being done here, right? Now, my site plan and my subdivision plan operates under the assumption that the town isn't looking to be a squatter on my land, and that by offering to just amend the right of way, that it's in the town's interest and it's in my interest. And this conversation kept going further and further and down into the rabbit hole. And I said, well, wait a minute. It says, you have to understand, if I can't come to an agreement with the town over what's going on with this right of way, I have to then notify the local PD of that the town is trespassing, and I have to block access to the town yard, which is not my intention at all. But I couldn't actually get any traction in terms of understanding that there is a definitive difference between the town is exerting domain over my property and I'm having control over my property. So when the site plan that I'm looking to prevent, to send to the planning board is going to be rejected, I was more than a little frustrated because this proposal for adjusting the right of way was really for the benefit of both parties. That right now, I cannot imagine that the town of Plymouth is going to declare adverse possession over this section of land, and therefore, unless they are a welcome guest of Dragonfly Property Management, they fall into the category of a squatter, and then you have to follow that law, which is basically notification through telling the local PD and blocking access. Now, I understand how critical this yard is to the town. I mean, something in the neighborhood of dozens of trucks run past my front door every day, attending to the needs of my fellow citizens. So, it's not that I want to go down this path. It's that I have this situation that really isn't tenable. The other thing that also came out of this is that through this conversation, they kept saying that if I were to go on to the May 20th planning board meeting because of these issues, that my application fee is going to be lost, which is in excess of $2,400 for this particular project. And I was baffled. Now, after sort of being backed into a corner, agreed to say, hey, listen, remove the application for the site plan off the May 20th planning board. And then went home and did research. And when I researched what I was being told, I mean, this is basically what I came up with, is that, let me just get to the right part of this. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the right part of my notes. So in regard to the application fees, I looked back at the town records, and very recently there was a site plan where the application fee was forfeited. That site plan, the planning board actually let it run out for 5 months, and in the 5th month asked the applicant, could you definitively prove that you can provide the documents in month 6? And when they got sort of a nebulous answer on that, they then voted to say, all right, we're going to close out this application and keep the fees, right? That's a standard of a very, very reasonable board. But I was threatened with the idea that my application fees, if I were to deliver this and have this outstanding issue in regard to the right of way, and then some other parts, which I'll touch on in a second, that I would lose that application fee and have to reapply. And it's substantial, it's $2,400. The other piece of this is that I had gone through a conceptual meeting with the planning board. And one of the things they said to me is that I don't have a stamp on my engineered drainage and erosion control plan. Now, I went and looked at the regulations. The regulations, section 8, part B3 states the planning board may, and I do emphasize the word may, ask for an engineered erosion plan. And then I went and looked at the section regarding a conceptual meeting, which is section 4A3, which says this is where they would ask for it. That in that conceptual meeting, they should have said if they wanted the engineered plans as opposed to the site plan, which currently has, and I'll show you an image of it in a second when we get to trying to address the right of way, that it does have drainage on there and it has drainage ditches and it has a retention pond identified. What I don't have because of COVID and the backup of service providers, as a result of this worldwide pandemic, is the engineering on it because they're working on it. But based on this, the reading of the town regulation, it's not needed. And I gotta say, I was more than a little offended that they were suggesting that my application fee would be lost because of things that ultimately, when I looked at the regulations, I was in compliance with. So, circling back to the issue of the right of way, where this really got heated and I got quite emotional is that I was simply trying to explain that this is private property, and being such, the town, whether they have future designs of turning the right of way, which is called Hitchner Road on my road, to a town road, doesn't have any application as it applies to the site plan and subdivision plan that I'm currently putting in front of the planning board. Now, if the town has desires along those means, provided that we can come to an understanding that's not going to interfere with my site plan and my subdivision plan, I'm sure we can come to an understanding. So after getting to that point, and actually mentioning that I would have to block access to the town yard and not having that sort of have the light bulb go on that, hey, listen, you really can't tell a business owner and a landowner how they're going to use their private property. I then picked up the phone and I called the highway department and did a pretty good job of ruining his day. And then I had a conversation with the chief of police where I basically said I may be forced to do this in order to protect my legal rights in regard to property ownership. I really hope that calm and cool collected minds will say, hey, wait a minute, let's fix this. So I'm asking for a couple things tonight. The first thing I'm asking for is a quick vote from the select board that the select board is not looking to claim adverse possession over the section of the road, which, excuse me, you shouldn't say road, the section of the right of way that's on private property. And that, should the town make that declaration, that would then allow for some additional time to figure out what the town wants to do in terms of this case. I did go back and meet with the town manager. I did get back onto the May planning board meeting, but it seems like there may be issues surrounding as to how the town might want to handle this right away. So my position is pretty clear. This is, I will be happy to hand over my rights to that particular section of the land to the town, provided it doesn't become an issue that prohibits me from being able to do my site plan and subdivision. But I need right now just simply a vote that says that, because I cannot tell you how long the town has been outside of the right of way. I mean, I just don't have that information. As far as I can tell from looking at the case history, it looks like there needs to be a triggering event, certainly having a new survey that indicates that the driveway is outside of the right of way is a triggering event. So if we can establish that the town is not looking to claim adverse possession, i.e. squatters' rights, and then we can then dive into the issue about the right of way and talk through some type of future. I don't necessarily know what the town's desires are in regard to this right of way. And I don't really have any strong feelings one way or the other. But I first need to have you guys address sort of the legal issue, because I mean, technically I'm supposed to give you notice to trespass of this. I don't think I need to necessarily go there, but I do need to get that vote on the record and just take that legal issue completely off the table. And then we go and whether we can look at the survey, which I can share on the screen in a second, and come to an understanding tonight, great. If you need more time or there's some other outside research that needs to be done in order for the town to properly act on this particular issue, I have no problem with it. The only thing that I ask is that it does not become an issue that prohibits my subdivision and site plan, i.e. giving up my domain over that property. So if that makes sense, that's what I'm looking for from the town tonight.
All right, thanks, Mr. Miller. Yeah, I think we probably have a few comments, and we have a couple of people from, I think Joe is still on, from Highways, and also Jules from Planning Board, but at least staff. And as you do realize that right of way was in your deed too, right? The 50-foot right of way. And when you bought the property, that easement is part of your deed, and that we own that. We own that to provide access to our town property. So that you're not questioning that though. But if it was the old right of way that is on the maps going down, Hitchner Road, you proposed to put 2 buildings in that right of way, which maybe was a little mistakenly, but so that bypass or the existing gravel drive would probably help you out if we were to utilize that as a compromise, even though it would provide a conflict with less than a 30-foot setback to the corner of your front entrance. So I think that's what's we're going to be talking about tonight, not necessarily that we're squatting, because we have that right away. And I think we're going to try to work together to try to resolve your problem of putting 2 buildings in the right of way and are also maintaining our access to our town property. And maybe Jules and Joe can speak to that.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that was put back, maybe as far back as the late 90s. But so when the other people owned it, why that right away took a turn to the right is because instead of tearing up, going straight down through and opening everything up to the right, there was a parking lot there that was existed. And so we had a verbal permission just to break into the corner of that lot that we're using, which gave us more of a block vision from the road. And it actually worked out better for the other people who owned the other property, because we didn't have to disrupt their parking lot. And so it always just worked out. It was a verbal thing, and no one ever had an issue with it. So I think for me, what I see is, you're set back because we didn't agree with you, but I have to support my town when there's a right of way and you encroach it with the notion that even though our right of way isn't where it belongs, I don't have an issue working with you, but you're just telling us how it's going to be. And I think that makes it difficult for us to work with you. I don't have a problem leaving it where it is if it works, but I think that that we should all try to work together to do it civilly.
Should I
Jules, did you-
respond or should I? Am I listening or
well-
am I responding?
Oh, go ahead, please.
So I mean, generally where this got off the rails is that I kept trying to explain the situation that the by leaving the right of way and going onto the section of the private property, I didn't necessarily have an issue with that, and the assumption that I put into my site plan and subdivision is that it would be the town's desire to continue to maintain that. When the discussion was essentially that you want to retain the rights of the right of way where it's currently drawn on the current survey and continue to use the driveway, I took exception to that. And that actually, you know, when I was trying to explain to the town employees that, you know, there isn't a legal right for you guys to jump outside of that right of way, right? What we're trying to do is to, you know, come up with a solution. And I'll be the first to admit, I wrote the site plan on the assumption that the town, having built the driveway where it is going to want to keep that driveway where it is. But the very premise that you're going to keep the driveway where it is, continue to use it, and then restrict the use of the land within the prior section of the right of way, that I reject categorically. So
Okay.
it's really, you know, you sort of make a choice, one or the other.
All right, that's great. And what I think I initially stated was if you were to desire us to go down the original right of way, we would be kind of ruining your plans to put 2 storage buildings because you, for some reason, put them in the right of way. So I think it was for your benefit that we do go down the gravel drive that Joe had put in per agreement of the previous owner. And I think there was a concern about the lack of 30 feet that would make it non-compliant setback between that drive and the corner of that building. And I think that's what we're negotiating right now in order to satisfy your need for us to go on that current, you know, little dog leg so that you can put your 2 buildings in. And we wouldn't necessarily, in fact, I'm certain that we wouldn't want to continue ownership of that right of way that you're putting your buildings on. I think we would be satisfied to cause that inconsistency with zoning concern about the 30 feet because it's actually a driveway. It's not a road. I don't think we'll put I don't foresee putting a town road in on Hitchner Road. And so I think that's the compromise. I think we're looking to, you know, accommodate your need for your 2 buildings and Joe's need to continue utilizing the gravel drive. And I also want to state too that you can't inhibit Joe's access to that town property. You know, that he needs access to that because alternatively we'll, you know, cut those trees and go down through the right of way on that's currently on your plan. So, you know, I think we're willing to work with you, and we didn't want an additional right of way to the bypass that we currently have that was established in the previous owner. So, does that sound okay or?
Yeah, that absolutely sounds okay. And then as for the location of the current driveway, the highway department employees are professional drivers. And I have to say they're extraordinarily courteous and polite. You know, we have, you know, customers that have to cross through there, you know, on a very frequent basis. And you know, we're talking about trucks that weigh in excess of 50,000 pounds. And, you know, I've watched since I've owned this business, the care and the courtesy that the town employees have shown towards to the general public as they're trying to get in and out of my building. So I'm very comfortable with the current location of that driveway.
And I agree with you. It is for both of our benefits that we resolve this issue of having a right of way and then a driveway outside of it. And it helps me. I did absolutely write the site plan under the assumption that it would be the town's desire not to have to cut the trees and redo the driveway altogether.
Okay, and that's with the assumption that the board has reviewed this and they also would agree. Jules, do you have any statement from staff of the planning or?
Yeah, that's kind of, I thought, how we left it on Friday. Kathy and I and Mr. Miller met, and you know, after there's been some confusion, I think, but at the end of it, it seems to me that we all kind of want it to stay, you know, how we've been using it, and we're okay with the changes, I think. I couldn't find anything in any ordinance or any RSA that says that an easement has to be outside of setback. And I don't have the expertise to, you know, to know what that would entail, but I just couldn't find anything that said that it had to be outside of the setback. So I'm not even sure if there's any problem changing it.
Okay, and all right. I might have a couple of questions regarding your actual plan though, before the board sees that gate. I mean, you're kind of stating that you just might close it off. So I hope that's not going to be the case. And you also have a proposed keypad. You know, would the town need to be able to, I mean, what is that keypad access for? Is there an additional gate that's going to be put in? You're going to have a fence around the whole thing and a gate that's going to allow you into the parking lot, right? And that's that keypad for?
Yes.
Okay.
So like a traditional self-storage unit, there is gated access to the self-storage units. What I've done is I've enclosed the parking lot in addition to the self-storage. I did call the fire department. I said, listen, I don't know how the fire department handles these issues for other self-storage units. What do you do? And they said that they would give me a particular code that I need to load into that keypad, and should they need to gain access, or any first responder for that matter needs to gain access, they would have the code in order to get in there. So during business hours, which in our case really is from 8 in the morning till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that gate would be open and free access in and out of that area. In the evening, after the building is physically closed, the last person to leave the building, that gate will drop. But if one of my self-storage clients needs access to their unit, they would get a 5-digit code or whatever it is in order to punch in order to gain access to their self-storage unit.
Okay, just a comment, the fact that sits right in the middle of the current right of way. Would it be possible to like move that closer to the gate so that it's kind of out of like, it seems like it might be in the middle of things, but actually it's outside the road, right? It's currently outside the road, so it's not going to be wiped out.
So you drive up to the side of it and it'll be in the grass, and you'll be able to reach it from a car window. There actually be 2 of them. There's going to be one that's going to be at car height, and given the amount of trucks that come into my yard, I'm going to have another one that's going to be raised up at truck height window height. Excuse me.
Okay, and Joe, you don't have a problem with that, right? Or
I do have two questions. So are you still running the restore? Are you still running the store as
Yes.
a so going straight in, you're gonna be able to drive straight into that business and park on the right?
Correct. So the during business hours, that gate will remain open from the very first person who shows up in the morning to the very last person who leaves. And the only reason for the gate is, well, there's 2 reasons. One is to allow the self-storage client to gain access, nighttime access to their self-storage unit. The other is I typically will offer my clients the ability to let their personal property sit for 3 or 4 days. So if you were, let's say, moving to Florida, I would take your personal property, put it on my truck, let it sit in my yard for 2 or 3 days, and leave after you, so you have enough time to get down, do the closing down in Florida, and we show up right after. So for security purposes, I'm looking for that gate to be down during the nighttime.
So I don't have a problem working with that one gate, you know, if be able to come in and out during your business hours, as long as if we, as a rule, we shouldn't be in there after you close, but you know, we might come in early in that, but if we had access, so we only need that one access. The other one is actually going to go to the left, right? Open the bigger yard.
Yeah, and let me clarify, because there is an existing gate that you may be thinking of that has only been closed during the period of unrest surrounding some of the civil unrest that was going on. I notified people that I was going to close that gate for a couple of days. That's the only time it's ever been closed. Part of this is I'm actually going to pull that gate from its current location and put it along the driveway that runs along the side of the building, so that what is, you know, currently Hitchner Road, there will be no gate on that runway right away, other than your gate, which will be on, you know, at the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
So you'd have to turn to go into my parking lot to actually encounter that other gate we're referring to.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't have an issue with that. The only other thing that my concern is that, you know, if we keep that the right of way where it turns to the right and comes in off the corner of our lot, you know, currently how it stands on the map, I'm just looking for some kind of security is how we secure that if things change in the future, so that we don't have to go through this again. Whether we could, who incurs that expense to change that on the map to make sure that we have that on the map.
I should have been clear. So my attorney will, should the select board decide to modify the location of that section of the right of way, my attorney and my surveyor will do all the necessary work so that it's memorialized on, you know, it ultimately be 3 different deeds. It'll be memorialized on the deed for the warehouse, the deed for the self-storage, and then it'll be the town-owned lot, I believe is 17. I'm guessing you have on there something that references that you have this right on the other 2 deeds. If not, then maybe it's just on 2. I've never seen your deed. But either way, the modification to the deeds will be written by, submitted to the town for its review, and upon its review, you know, I'll pay my attorney in order to file that on all the appropriate deeds, so it's fully memorialized.
Yeah, for me that works. If that's basically all my concern is. The rest is up to the town and whatever else they need to do.
Okay, and also I want to state too that should the board accept this, it's only for memorializing that current access to the town property as the new right of way, and not to any issue that you might have with the planning board or outstanding information. Yep. Okay.
All right. I have a question.
Yep.
Is it my understanding that you intend to have an erosion control specialist design a stormwater plan for this site?
Yes. So I have engaged French Land Services. They're the ones who have written the survey and did the first draft of the drainage and erosion control. He works with, I believe, Brown Engineering, and through him, he will submit the plan to Brown Engineering. I obviously will pay for it, but there'll absolutely be a state I'm losing the right term, but a state engineer or a soil engineer, whatever the right engineering degree that Brown Engineering has, that will stamp this plan and approve it. Now, one of the things that should probably have been mentioned is that due to supply chain issues, the self-storage units, from the time the site plan is actually approved, it'll be 20 to 24 weeks before the prefab buildings will show up. So it allows for a substantial amount of time for the, for Kevin to engage, I guess, Brown Engineering and get that filed and approved. And it would be something that would have to come in prior to actually pulling the building permit for the building itself.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions, or is there a motion?
I have one more question. So I know that you and I, Eric, that we talked briefly about, the drainage and how it was going to play out between the two lots. And so at the end of the day, I'm still kind of concerned about our privacy, because that was one of the biggest reasons why we went in where we did with our drive, because we were trying to keep those trees. So we had a visually had a screen from the road. Do you know if all of that or most of that's going away, or?
If I can do a screen share, I think I can answer that. I'm gonna give this a shot. It says the host is disabled screen sharing. Would it be possible for me to just?
You're all set. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, hopefully this worked. So if you'll see where I've got the cursor right now, there where it says proposed storage building, that is a one-sided storage building, meaning that there is garage doors only on the side that faces away from the town lot. So that as people come in through this driveway and turn this way, the only visual a place they'd be able to see is if you look for, like, where it's right here, it says 1 and 2, they'd be able to look this way into what's back there. I believe at that angle, all of your equipment, which is much further back, would not be visible at all. The other thing is that I'm somewhat security conscious. I will be putting on upwards to 24 security cameras all the way around the self-storage units and covering the parking lot itself. And I think I mentioned that I'd be willing to put one at the end of the building right here. Right? I don't know if this cursor is visible, but one here pointing directly towards the town gate. I believe based on the size of the hard disk, it won't retain the video for more than, let's say, 7 days. But if you were to have an incident, the first responders would be able to pull the videotape of who gained access, at least through the gate, into your yard. If there's something else, the fence that I have going around here, and I'm just going to trace it with the mouse, goes this way, follows just outside the right of way, and turns this way. If you want me to put privacy slots along the back of here, I'd be happy to do that as well.
No, so I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
So basically your storage units are going to be my visual block. They're going to block.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was kind of partial to the trees, but I mean, as long as as long as those block it, we're just trying to play the game out of sight, out of mind. So that little piece of the corner doesn't bother me, because you literally have to drive down to that gate to be, like you said. So with all the cameras, I'm not worried about the rest of it. So I'm good. I'm all set.
Okay. All right, then, is there a motion?
So that I make the correct motion, are we looking for a motion to adjust the right-of-way line?
Yes,
As drawn on the document included in our packet? Is that?
that is it. Yep.
That's the motion I just made then.
Okay.
I
Zach,
second.
Zach moved, Ted seconded. Any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none. Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Zach? Did he say aye?
Yes.
Sir, his mouth moved.
Okay. Ted? Marianne?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Well, thank you for bringing this to us, Mr. Miller, and I wish you success.
Thank you. Appreciate the help.
And you can return now to Hitchener Drive. No, I'm only kidding. What else? Oh, great sky. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm sorry, I had to stay around for so late. So Grace, do you want to talk to us about TV?
Yes, so, and I know it's really late, so I'll kind of be as quick as I can. As you may recall, we were at the board meeting on October 26th. And during
Your volume's a little bit down. I don't know if you can turn up your volume, but.
Is that better?
Well, I think yeah, Ann's also turning up ours too, so.
Let's
But,
see.
okay, go for it.
Okay, so there's a group of stakeholders right now who are sort of taking the place of the Plymouth Energy Commission. The Plymouth Energy Commission has been inactive for a couple of years now. And as you may recall, the Plymouth Energy Commission a long time ago, back in 2017, proposed a large solar array at the transfer station. When we met with the board this past year in October, what we described to you is that the larger arrays, the group net meter arrays that we were proposing on the transfer station, generally those have become economically not very feasible or economical to build. So what we've been doing, and by we, I mean Maggie Mumford, who's here tonight, Dick Hage, Joyce Western, and myself and a couple other basically local stakeholders, is we've been working with Ted Van Zant from, he's with New England Commercial Solar Services, to kind of put together some thoughts about what might be economically feasible, because our focus really is to provide maybe some renewable resource options to meet the town electrical or power needs. We put together some numbers and worked with a gentleman up in Shelburne. His name is Mike Page, and he's with the Conservation Commission up there in Shelburne, and he's also an engineer. He plugged some numbers that we received from the co-op, and also I want to give a shout out to Anne. She really helped us gather up some numbers and plug it into this model. And I'm going kind of fast because I don't want to keep you too long, but basically plugged some numbers into a model that indicated to us that our best option at the town level would be to look at the police department, the fire department, and the town transfer station, and to put individual arrays on those buildings, and basically size the arrays so that they would meet the building needs. And I guess at this point, we'd like to come to the select board and ask for do you support that concept? There's many steps we would have to take in order to, move that kind of thought pattern forward. We'd have to do a lot of cost analysis and figure out what it would cost. We did run some numbers by lending institutes that lend to municipal entities. And obviously right now, interest rates are really good right now, but it's going to take us a while to get up and running in terms of really getting this proposal off the ground. But right now, that research data that we plugged into the model that the folks up in Shelburne lent us are showing that municipal loans are about the best way to fund these kind of projects and grants, obviously. And I hope I'm not losing anybody. I know I'm going a little quickly, but I'm also aware that it's almost 8:30 and you've been working really hard tonight. So I guess what we want to do is figure out how to proceed to find out if the select board supports us at least researching whether it's something the town's people would like to see happen in this town, and to figure out what the steps are that the board would approve for us to move forward to do that kind of research and bring it in front of the town warrant articles next year. So that's why we're here.
Thanks, Grace.
Sure.
Um,
Ask questions. I know I went quickly. I had about 7 pages worth of notes. No, I'm just kidding. I tried to boil it down.
So I got a question for you because we had a brief talk I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and so regarding the placement of these arrays on top of roofs, that's another thing that you mentioned that you didn't mention this evening, as far as like just making sure that engineering was sufficient to assure that these arrays aren't going to cause roof damage or whatever.
Well, we don't know what authority we have. Like, do we have the authority to talk with the powers that be that might know if those roofs are stable enough to handle an array? And yes, you are right. That's like one of the burning questions for us is if we even started to move forward with this concept, where would they be on each building? And are those buildings built to support them? So, but we just don't know what authority. I guess that maybe that's even the wrong word, the authority. And I know Steve Lefebvre is probably going, I haven't heard anything about this yet.
No, I'm okay with it. I mean, you can come up to the police department anytime you want, send anybody you want to see if it will. That's my main question is, will the roof actually support a solar array? And if it can, then there's any reason why you wouldn't go out there, but that's just the one. The building's very old. I looked at putting a traditional roof structure on the top of it, and I was told structurally we would be able to handle that.
Well, one of the
One building,
okay. One of the things we're asking of the board is permission to move forward to do an assessment of the 3 roofs. I think you're
Steve, Steve's mic is kind of wacky right now, I think, but
Is that any better?
That's
a little
better.
You kind of got a hum in the background, but
That's better.
now you're out.
Lost everything.
There you go. Okay.
So what we're really trying to do is get one step is get permission from the board to do an assessment of the roofs.
But if I can clarify that, I don't think that we're immediately looking for funds to carry out a structural analysis. We just want permission to talk to the right people to figure out how old are these roofs? What do we know about these roofs? We don't want to just knock on the doors and say, oh, guess what? We want to find out this information. We just want select board support to start collating this kind of information so that we know what we know and what we don't know. And we're not looking for any approval for any funds. We're not looking for any motion to support the construction of these facilities. It's just approval to talk to folks to try to figure out what we know.
Good point.
What they know.
Yes, what they know.
Right. That sounds good. Any comments from the board or questions?
Seems like a reasonable request.
And I'm not sure if we have to organize or something. I don't know.
Can't hear you, Grace.
I don't know if we need to formally organize. Or
I heard somebody say
I would like to add one more thing.
Yes.
I think right now is a very good time for our town to get in line and to have something ready, because we have a federal government that is moving ahead on this kind of issue. The state is in a period of confusion as to how we're proceeding with renewables, which we all know. But I think nationally, there are opportunities, and we don't want to be in a situation where we're not ready to have shovel-ready projects. I think it's a really good time for us to kind of try to get our ducks in a row. That's all I have to say.
And as well, be ready to be able to receive incentive rebates.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I would strongly recommend that the board encourage Grace and Dick and Maggie and their group to move forward on this research.
All right. Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make it a motion.
All right.
I'll second that emotion.
Did you say second that emotion?
Yeah, I did.
Are you going to sing that for us?
In there.
So
I really feel about this project.
So
I'll
Neil
second
moved.
the motion.
Neil moved. Mary Ann seconded. Any discussion? Further discussion? All right. Seeing none. Ted, your vote.
Aye.
Neil.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Mary Ann.
Aye.
Bill. Aye. Thank you very much.
You're welcome to start at the
you.
police department if you want. Come on up anytime.
I'll see you tomorrow, Steve.
Okay.
I think that's all. Anyone else from the group have any thoughts from there? I think that's really what we needed, is the support to start knocking on doors.
Well, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now just in time for committee reports.
Should include highway in that.
Highway and what?
The highway in their analysis.
Oh, well, I think they know that. You're also going to look at highway department, right? The roof of highways? Maggie?
Yeah, we sure could. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They said PD, fire, town hall. That's the only three places.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
PD, fire, recycling. I didn't hear recycling.
PD, fire, recycling, and highways. Now, just
So we can add, certainly add highway to the list.
yeah.
Can I just ask a question about that though? Because I keep hearing that the highway might move, and I don't know if
eventually.
Okay.
We might be forced to move, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Eventually.
and that's the only reason why there was a little hesitation a long time ago about that, because I mean, it could be, up to $50,000 to put a solar array on a building, and then if a facility moves, I suppose it could be part of the allure of selling the building. But anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. So
it'd still be a municipal building.
oh, got it. Sure, I didn't know if that was going to be sold for some reason.
Well, I mean, it could be, but I don't know who would want to buy an old building that Joe wants to leave from.
You will add it to the list. Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, committee reports.
I can tell you about what happened at school board this past week.
Okay.
I mean, a bunch of the normal sort of reports, but they are ending their fiscal year in a pretty strong place. They've got a pretty reasonable surplus that they're anticipating. As such, they're trying to get some summer projects in the works. Also, the town passed a thing allowing them to carry over money into years based on their surplus just this past year. So they are planning they're planning to vote on whether or not they're going to carry over some or all of their allowed amount of that funding. They also got some grant money from, it's called ESSER, ESSER, and I think that's for COVID, some funding that they were able to get. So they've got some interesting projects going on with that money as well. So a bunch of sort of capital projects. They haven't approved exactly what they're going to do. That's coming at the next board meeting. So if anybody's interested sort of in sort of capital projects at the elementary school, The next board meeting will be pretty interesting on that front. Another school thing that came up, not in the meeting, but since the meeting, Pfizer got authorized for vaccine for 12 to 16 or 12 to 15-year-olds today. And so the school is planning to run vaccination clinics likely within the next week for anybody who's interested.
Okay. Very good.
Zach, at the last meeting, you had talked about who owns the SAU office.
Yeah, that was brought up, and I did review. I shared back with Kathy a link to the clip in the meeting where they were discussing that. Kathy shared back to me the tax maps, which seemed to make it clear to me. So I'm still don't necessarily understand why there's any confusion over that.
Okay. So the SAU owns it.
Yes. According to the tax maps, yeah, the
Yes.
school owns that. It's one lot. So I'm not sure why I don't know if there's any sort of historical information about, ownership of the building or anything like that. I'm not sure.
Okey-doke.
It's also possible John was just mistaken.
Thanks, Zach. Anything else?
That is it.
All right. Any other committee reports?
I attended the PERLAC meeting, but I think Bill probably could give you a better report than I could.
I'm brain dead, Neil. If you want to give a report, 3.5 hours we've been.
Yeah.
Only kidding. This is great.
Yeah, well, we're getting ready for this summer. We're going to do water testing on the river.
Yep. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock.
Oh boy.
See if you actually going to show up, but we're going to be at the Descenso Bridge at 8 o'clock. So maybe next time. Any other committee reports? Steve?
No, I was going to suggest to Mary Ann that she gives a parking committee report because we need to hear that again.
I'd be happy to. Steve doesn't know what he's doing. No. Just kidding. I could give a quick planning update. I'll make it really quick because I too am exhausted. So election of officers went. Everything pretty much stays the same. Rebecca Hanson remains chair, Phil Lamoureux vice chair, and John Price will be non-recording secretary. And for the most part, we spent a lot of time, or June did, going over zoning and the zoning issues that we as a town have. Man, we've got a lot going on with the zoning ordinances. She's going to first start with even just definitions. A lot of the definitions aren't clear, are omitted. There's conflicting definitions, which is interesting, along with the ordinances aren't clear. And once again, more conflicting issues. So we'll be attacking those as we go forward. June did a wonderful, if you've never sat in June's presentations, she does a great job. That teacher in her really comes out. So the planning boards have been interesting. That's all I got.
Yeah, I watched planning board. It was pretty impressive. I think.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Yep, she certainly does. Neil, did you want to talk more about PERLAC, or you're?
Oh, yeah, I had some notes here.
Go for it.
Dave Jeffers, the principal planner of the Lakes Region Planning Council, is kind of our mediator, and we talked about river overlay zoning and FEMA maps and steep slopes, and I think we had some discussion about the proposed project on the Pemmy River down where Mike Ahern's farm is.
Yep.
And there's still a lot of concern about that. And I think that there was a request for more information. And there's a program, a Lake Smart program called New Hampshire Lakes, which is put out by the DES Lakes and Rivers. Tracy Sales is the director. The Office of Strategic Initiatives is going to have a spring conference on May 15th. And it's going to be held by YouTube and or on a YouTube channel. And it's going to cover planning and zoning. And then there's let's see, Lisa Dona was talking about stream conductivity, and that's something I need to know more about. That's the end of my report.
All right. Thanks, Neil.
I don't know how helpful it is.
It's all interesting.
Yeah, it is really. You know, the idea is that we're developing a history of what the water quality is on the Pemigewasset River, so that we have something to compare to as time goes on.
True. Yep. Thank you. Ted, anything?
Nothing to add.
Excellent. That's not, that was kind of a mean comment, actually. I think I don't have anything to add myself. So any public comment?
I do. I may not, should I go sit in the back and give my public comment? So we've been working on the Memorial Day parade and celebration, trying to pull everything together. We need to find a place to line up. We normally line up at the Armory, but since they've been doing the COVID, shots down there, we can't use that. So we were looking at Alex's Field. We wanted to start down that direction because people are usually gathered from that area forward to watch the parade. So otherwise we could probably use Green Street. But right now we have the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Baker Valley Band. We have one speaker so far. And we do have, I think Father Leo is going to say the prayer. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas where we can line up. Lineups at 10. And the board does usually march in the parade. So we expect y'all to be there with your colors on.
So,
yes.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
If the board's gonna march, how about you guys line up on Tenny Mountain Highway? No, too far? No, the other alternative is rather than having to do that hill, if you line up in Alex Ray's field there, that the PSU lot that they've been using, you could always line up on Week Street and come down Toby Road. But then again, I don't know if they're doing vaccinations, then you'll be interfering with that traffic as well if you do that. But the fact of the matter is the parade's not normally very big.
Right.
Or you could do Week Street and then go down Merrill Street and then on a Main Street too. But Week Street's pretty long and that can definitely accommodate everybody in the parade.
And Merrill Street's pretty steep.
Yep.
I can see them all rolling downhill.
Isn't Memorial Day is a state holiday.
It wouldn't be vaccinated.
Why would they be vaccinating on a state holiday?
I don't know.
I can answer that for you. It's the pandemic. But when I was doing testing, I worked holidays. This is what it is.
Yeah, we've been told we can't use the Armory.
What about the ice arena?
About what?
What about what?
Jesse?
Staging at the ice arena.
Ice arena.
Well, there's that or Green Street too.
I think if you're gonna do it, just Green Street's gonna be your best bet. That's where we do the Christmas parade.
Right.
We just need to know where you're gonna actually do it. If you do, that way we can, shut off traffic at the appropriate locations.
All right. Let's brainstorm, work together to figure it out.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I just say do Green Street. I think it's going to be the least problematic to do it
Yeah,
from there.
I would think so too. All right. Any other?
I know it's been a long meeting, but I have something to add. I think that Larry's been doing a great job with the common. It looks really good.
Good. Good.
Well, next time I see him, we'll pass that along.
Yeah.
Pat him on the back with my elbow. All right. In that case, any other discussion or any entertainment of a motion?
I make a
Motion to
motion, we
adjourn?
Wow.
Second.
All right. Did you get that?
Sure.
5
I
people.
don't know, Ted
motioned in?
might have got it.
Okay, we'll give it to Ted. He's been quiet.
All right. So Ted moved, Neil seconded. Zach, you're, huh?
No,
Zach,
Mary Ann made the motion.
oh.
We don't need to worry about it. She can have it.
She can have it. Let's
So
go.
let's just adjourn.
Yeah, sounds good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.